I just don't think we know what family is anymore. We don't even know what it look like. So to me, a family is not a woman and her child. That's not a family. A man and a child. That's not a family. A husband and a wife and the children. That's a family. But we don't see that anymore because now we diluted it so much. We say, oh well, a woman and her two kids. Oh, that's my family. No, family. That's not a family. You just a woman with two kids, and it's not a family at all. Now, maybe when you did have a husband at the time, you had a family, but you have a broken family now. It's not a real family. So I don't think most of us acknowledge that or even recognize that is because we diluted so much. Because that's how we look at his family now. A parent and two kids, and that's a family. No, not at all. Not in my opinion.
I just have a little pushback on that. I agree with you if it's an intentional situation in which, like what we were talking about, the Nick Cannon and all other people that are going in with the intent of not having the other parent there. But I just think the caveat to that is if we're a married couple and we never had any kids, that doesn't negate that we're a family. We're still a family. We're a husband and wife. Or if one of the spouses died and you were widowed and you still have the children, so one of the spouses are missing, you're still a family. So I just wanted to kind of put that perspective out there because people who are not necessarily in a situation that's intentionally trying to create broken homes like this, that doesn't negate that they don't have a family structure when it was in place, and due to circumstances they may not have had kids or one of the parents passed away.
Well, why don't you have kids? Because if you can have the ability to reproduce, then you're not a family. That's just your wife. It's just you and your wife. That's not a family. Not until you bring the offspring into it. Now, you don't necessarily have to be yours. You can adopt. That's family. Them your kids. Them family. If you so happens to inherited some kids because of maybe your brother or sister died, and you got your niece and nephew, that's still family. But to me, my opinion, I don't consider somebody just a husband and wife with no kids. I don't consider it a family. Now, what you talk about if your significant other dies, just in extreme circumstances, and it happens. But I wouldn't consider that not family though. I would never call that not family. It depends on the circumstance. But if you were intentionally, as a man, just raising his kids by himself and no wife, yeah, it's not a family to me. In my opinion, that's all.
Yeah. If you, let's say you're I ain't gonna put that on you. Somebody's spouse passes and they say, who's the next of kin? Who's the family? It would be your spouse. If y'all didn't have any children. So that's what I'm just trying to say. The idea of family is, it can be just outside of the kids. Even if I couldn't have any children or we chose not to have any children, it doesn't negate the fact that we're still family.
I want to say this about Cam Newton before I jump off of here. Yeah, in that interview that I watched, Cam Newton seemed highly offended, defensive. And I think a lot of it is because he wants to be seen in a certain light. But in actuality, people who are logical, we're looking at what it is, not what you want it to be, but what it actually is. And he doesn't like the fact that all of his actions, it's you're low functioning, right? And he's like, I got all this money, I got all of this, but there is still a group of women, no matter how much money you accumulate, you could have Trump money, they wouldn't deal with you. And I think Dr. Brian, right? I think she was one of those women. And of course, there are still millions of women that will deal with you, but she's one of those, just one of the few women who are like, you're dysfunctional, you got kids everywhere, that wouldn't be my type of man. And I think he was offended by that. And it's crazy because a lot of men like that think they could get any single woman. But like what's her name was saying in the interview, you can't. You're not God. You're not going to get everything that you want. But there will still be a lot of jazzies walking around that he could get, because low functioning men could still get low functioning women, and they could be beautiful, but it's a self-esteem thing. There are a lot. You could be not the most attractive woman and have high self-esteem, and there are certain things you're just not going to deal with. And I don't think he liked that, but I wanted to say this about low self-esteem. That's what I wanted to say. You could tell when a woman has low self-esteem, not by her physical appearance, but by the way she behaves, the way she goes about her day-to-day life, who she spends her time with, how she spends her time, how she spends her money, like her friends. You could tell how somebody is low functioning and if they have low self-esteem or not. And that has to do a lot with your mental health and how you see yourself. So you gotta, as a woman, you gotta improve your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth, why you think you deserve less. Like as a woman, regardless of your physical, internal, you should know who you are, love who you are, and not accept something so low because it makes you low. And you don't want that as a woman. And all these people online making fun of her, and it's just really sad actually. And I hope that they could work it. I don't know how this situation is going to go, but a woman needs to work on her mental health before she gets with a man, because it's just not going to work out. You're going to attract a whole different level of man when you change your mind, your mental, and your self-esteem, and your sense of self-love, and your self-respect. Those type of men won't even approach you anymore. And if they do, as soon as they have the conversation, they're just like, no, that ain't going to work. Like, it's just different men. Certain men will not approach me. And if they do one conversation, they're like, let me run out of here. Because there's certain things you just can't, it doesn't work on every woman. It may work on the 90%, but there's that 10% of women it just don't work on. It don't matter your money. It don't matter what you drive in. None of that matters, because that's not going to cause you to be a good father. Some of us care about that more than money. All right, I'm done.
How does a woman know, like how, because I'm hearing what you're saying, and I know it's easy to say, but like how does a woman really like identify those things? Like, how does a woman know if she's healed in your opinion? And also, like, what type of energy or persona do you carry where men know not to try to run certain things past you? Like, what does that look like?
Say the last part again.
Well, you made reference to like certain men will know, like once they try to run something past me or try to talk to me, they know that I'm this type of woman, so they know not even to even go down that rabbit hole with me. Like, what does that look like? How does a woman know if she possesses that?
It's easy because, like, literally, if a man, think about it, if you're having a first conversation with a man and he tests you and he's like, he makes a joke about sex and you start laughing. Now he knows, all right, I could talk to her about sex. Now I could try to have sex. Not like you can make a joke about her and call her ugly. Now he's like, oh, I know I could talk to her anyway. I could be disrespectful because she's laughing. She'll take it. There's certain women, you talk about sex. That's so inappropriate. I don't even know you. Why would you bring up sex? He's like, oh, I can't do that. You make you make a joke about me in a negative way, but really you're saying something negative about me. I'm gonna be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you talking to me like that? It's just certain things that you can't say to certain types of women. It won't fly. They won't accept it. So a man will try you. A man is always going to try you. I have yet to meet a man who did not try me in some way. A man will try you. And if he says something crazy or does something crazy and you stay and accept it, that's on you. You have to show your boundaries. I think the biggest part of having high self-esteem is having boundaries and standards that you do not compromise on, period. Yeah. Like if a man does something with another woman, like, my standard. It's not like, oh, well, we'll figure. No, you're not going to see me. Like,
but balance. Can you give a different example aside from the sex or the ugly joke? Because I feel like that's the percentage of men that do that. That's not a high percentage of successful men. I would assume overall, because that's no type of game or even understanding the basics of approaching a woman, to say some shit like that. So
that might be her experience. So like she may be telling you that that's what men try.
Right. No, I hear that. And I understand that.
This is
but is that the only?
No, I could give another example.
I'll give him one because I just thought about one. But I also want to say that this is what I mean. Like, men have never dated men. They have no idea. They have no clue. And me even coaching women for a very long time and how they all have so many similar stories. It's like, how could we all have all of these similar stories? Like, men,
that's
you
pitiful.
never dated a man. You have
No,
no idea what we go through.
I get it. I get it.
And I'll give you another example. Whoever your friend is as a man, whoever he is to you is not going to be who he is to me, right? And he's not going to treat you and speak to you the same way he's going to treat and speak to me or any woman. But I'm going to give you another example. This was when I was in my early 20s. I met a man. He was so handsome. I think it was at Whole Foods or something. We exchanged numbers. Long story short, he told me he had no kids. I'm like, oh, that's great. I think I told the story on here a while ago, but then he sent me a rap song because he wanted to be like a rapper or whatever. And in the rap song, he started talking about his 2 baby mamas. I'm like, because I thought he was just trying to say something. Trying to say something to sound cool. So I'm like, because you know how some rappers lie. I thought the man was lying because he told me he had no kids. Like, then he forgets, and then sends me all these rap songs, and that was in one of the songs. So I approached him, I'm like, hey, didn't you tell me you had no kids? He's like, yeah. I'm like, but in your rap song, you say you got 2 baby moms and you don't get along with them. He was like, oh, well, actually, I got 2 kids and 2 baby mamas. I'm like, what? Why would you lie about that? Because they know if he would have told me that, I would not even be here talking to you right now. After that, I never talked to him again. But the point is, he wouldn't have even gotten that far if I would have known that. So it's like, they know who to play with. Like, that's not going to work. And once a woman does find out you're lying, if she's not low value, she's out of there.
Yeah. No, that's fair. No, I get it. I get it.
I know another example, because somebody was saying this before, I can't remember who it was also valuing your time. If we plan to go out and it is a date, if it was an older lady that I met, and she was telling me this. If there's a date and you said that you want to take me out, we're going to go out, and then I don't hear from you at all during the entire time that the date is planning, and then you just pop up, she's like, I'm not gonna go, because there's a level of, keeping me in a loop and let me know what the plan is, so then I can plan my time accordingly, because I respect your time. I want to make sure I have my stuff together so I show up on time. So if I'm taking the time to respect your time, I expect you to respect mine and communicate. So that was an example that popped into my head as well. But if you're a dude a woman that is saying, no, that's okay. I understand that you're already setting the tone that me showing up on time, or me keeping my word, or me not communicating to you is okay. So that's another example of this.
Okay. That's fair. I can definitely see that example. I just couldn't, even though I'm aware of it, I couldn't fathom a man approaching a certain type of woman and immediately bringing up sex or making a joke about them being ugly. Like, that's just some goofball shit. And I'm aware that there are goofballs out there, but it just be mind-boggling that people actually try that in real time.
Let me just say this. I promise it's quick. One of the things that I appreciate about both of those interviews is that I think it opened up more men's eyes, which women, I remember having conversations on here before about that, is understanding Pookie and Ray Ray. Like, everybody think that a lot of men talk about women with the Pookie and Ray Ray in terms of, oh, he the hood dude, ain't got nothing going for him. But understanding more so that Pookie and Ray Ray is a mentality. So you can have money and still be a Pookie and Ray Ray. So that was one of the things that I wanted to point out that I appreciated about both of those interviews.
I think men already know that, though. Yeah, I honestly think men already knew that, because in most cases, Pookie and Ray Ray may have a baby by a cousin or a sister, you know what I'm saying? Like, or a close friend that we grew up with or something. So I don't think that men was ignorant to that fact. I think men know that, and they often speak up against it. But the money that security, you know, I think that trumps whatever is being told by him.
Biz, maybe you knew that, but I remember specifically having conversations around this issue, and Nick Cannon was brought up, and a lot of the men were saying that he has money, so he's taking. It's not like he's not taking care of his kids. That was the argument. So that's why I brought that up. That maybe more men now who have seen that understands that Pookie and Ray Ray is not just about you having money or not having money. It's more about the mentality and how you move.
So you confused Thursday's situation and show for Sunday. Is that what you're saying, Staken? So since you heard that and y'all was having that conversation on Thursday, you thought every other man was having that same stance or feelings? No, we don't.
This wasn't on the Thursday show.
Yeah, I think it was, because I think I know what show you're talking about, because we
spoke on it on Sheet Critique as well. We spoke about it. I'm not on Sheet
Critique. I have no idea. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm talking about the show that I seen on Thursday. They talked about it, and we spoke on it on King Talk as well. How some of the guys said, well, he could financially provide, so it's all that matters. To me, that's bullshit. Because guess what? Once again, fellas, we have to learn back to take lead and control in the relationships and the families. We have relinquished our control in the families and the relationships to the point we allow the ladies just to raise our kids, and we have no say so, and we're going to depend strictly on women who are overly emotional to raise our sons, right? That's what we're going to depend on. So now, guess what they're going to raise? An over-emotional son. So when you come home from working 16 hours a day and you wonder why your goddamn 14, 15-year-old son crying all the time like a little girl, because he was raised and taught by his mother, and then seeing how she acted and responded, because you was never in the house to offset the bullshit. Take back control of your family and your household, fellas. Don't rely strictly on the ladies to do everything. I wouldn't. There's no way I would allow that to happen. Because guess what? She's going to dictate everything, so now you're going to be mad on how shit ran. Well, that's not how I like it done. Well, then you left it up to this emotional woman to do it. What do you expect going to happen? She going to fuck some shit up. Where was you at to correct it? Oh, well, man, I had to work 16 hours. I had to get that bag. Oh, you could continue to get that bag while you're going to see your son behind the goddamn glass because he acted out emotionally because of something happened in the streets. And you wasn't there to offset it or to teach him how to be a goddamn man because you was worried about getting that bag working them 16 goddamn hours. Screw that, man. Hell with that. Move and control your situation like men should. The hell with nothing against these women. We appreciate what little they do. But we can't put it all on them to expect them to do everything right we need to be done. Because we know they can't always handle every situation.